Now we're joined by the Business Secretary and Minister for Women and Equalities, Kemi Badenoch. Good morning. Welcome to the programme. Thanks for joining us. You are announcing today changes to the Equality Act that was originally put together in 2010 by the Labour Party, but you think that there are some areas that need clarification as the whole issue has potentially been sort of toxified over recent years.
Yes, that's right. It has been toxified. There's a lot of confusion about what the law actually says because terminology is changing. So what we are doing is clarifying the original intention of the Act, which is that sex, the protected characteristic of sex in the Equality Act, refers to biological sex. And that will also help with those parts of the Equality Act which create exemptions for single-sex spaces.
Just to make this clear so people understand this, because I think people begin to lose what we're actually talking about. You're talking about whether you are born with a penis or not. Penis prominence, really. That's what we're talking about.
Well, if you want to put it that way, it's not quite how I would put it, Eamon. But it is about your biological sex being what you were born as, being what is protected in the Act. And, you know, over the last couple of decades, people now talk about sex and gender. In law, those used to mean the same thing. But now when we talk about them, they mean different things. One is the biological sex. The other, maybe what you choose to present as or how you identify. But the problem we're solving is for many organizations like rape crisis centers, prisons, for instance, where people may identify as a woman even though they're biologically male and they don't know what to do. And we are clarifying what public authorities need to do, what perhaps individual private institutions' rights are. A lot of them are worried about being sued even when they're doing the right thing. So this is a tidy up of law so that we can create a better space for this conversation, make it less toxic, less heat, more light, protect women and children, but also, more importantly, protect those trans people, those people with gender dysphoria who have had their issues used by many others who've got nothing to do with them but who are exploiting the law for other purposes.
And are there any potential grey areas that you can foresee or loopholes? And I'm not even necessarily talking about predators here exploiting the system, which I think we can all agree needs to be rooted out. But I'm talking about perhaps those people who have had quite severe surgery to remove genitalia. I'm talking about men here, and have had their birth certificate legally changed so that they are on their birth certificate described as a woman. Will those people be able to go into female-only spaces? And if not, how will you be able to, what will you do with them?
So those are people who have had sex reassignment surgery, very, very tiny number of people. That's different from the whole category of trans as it's described. It's even different from the characteristic of gender reassignment where you don't even need to have had surgery. So that's a very, very small cohort. And we do believe that there will be systems in place to be able to look after that. Some of them may need something specific or particular for their needs. What we're really trying to clear up is those people who haven't done anything at all, who may just present as women but are still, or even just say they're women but are still biologically male. It's not going to be an easy issue. I know that there will still be some people who will be unhappy, but we're improving the situation. We can't make it perfect. There will always be things that where there's tension, but we're trying to manage this tension and make it easier for everyone.
The fact that only a small number of people have gone through that surgery, as you described, doesn't really mean it's not important, given that the amount of airtime this trans issue dominates and only 0.02% of people on the census identifying as trans. Sinead got in touch on our website a little bit earlier on in the programme saying, I don't understand how the government seriously thinks we care about this more than all the other policies they're failing to announce. Nothing on cost of living, nothing on housing, nothing on young people, bar forcing them to do national service. And there are some people who are saying this is just about culture wars, perhaps trying to get those reform votes to stop them from voting for Labour. But it's not actually about changing society or improving people's lives.
Well, Obviously, I would disagree with that. It is about improving people's lives. And when I wrote an article today, I talked about a woman who was raped by a man wearing makeup who followed her into a women's toilet. To say that we shouldn't deal with those issues and we should just talk about the cost of living, I think is absolutely not right. The government can do 100 things at the same time. And just because we're talking about this doesn't mean we're not doing anything else. And we have put forward lots of announcements. We had announcements on the NHS. We've been talking about what we've been doing on cost of living for a long time now. I've been responsible for things like the minimum wage and living wage. We've increased that. There's a lot that we've been doing to tackle multiple issues. But it is quite wrong when we are looking at something that, yes, it is niche, but when we're looking at it to say you shouldn't be doing this at all, it's just culture wars. That's how people get silenced. You get being accused of fighting culture wars, of being a bigot, of being transphobic. We want all of that to stop. People should be able to do the right thing without fear of abuse, and we're making the space for that to happen.
Just talk me through the timing of this. A lot of people will look at you, Kemi, and what you're talking about today, and they'll say, look, this is hardly new. And why haven't you done something about it? Or why hasn't the Conservative government done something about this before?
Oh, well, we've done a lot already. You know, we've put out guidance for schools. We're fixing the sex education curriculum. We've made announcements about single-sex spaces, mixed-sex wards. But the biggest reason why it's taken this long is we had to spend a lot of time fighting the SNP Scottish government in Scotland, who are going to change the law and mess it up for the whole of the UK. So the other part of this announcement is that we're also stopping devolved governments from being able to change the law. This will become a reserved matter. Equality should be a fully reserved matter. And you shouldn't have different things applying in England or Scotland.
Very quickly, because I do know that you have to go, but I want to ask you, Nigel Farage has been making lots of headlines over the weekend, been out on the campaign trail with Richard Tice, much probably to his frustration, dominating those headlines. And he's been talking about possibly a bit of a Conservative Party takeover. And you'll know, lots of people debate whether or not you might be the leader of a future Conservative Party at some point, perhaps a not too distant future. Could you work with Nigel Farage, and would you welcome him into the party?
Nigel Farage is a very interesting character. He's been very influential, of course, but he has stood against the Conservative Party multiple times, and he has said that his aim is to destroy the Conservative Party. So why would you welcome someone into your organisation when they say they want to destroy it?
Well, he's not welcome, but could you work with him?
I will work with anyone who wants to help deliver a Conservative agenda. I've worked with Labour MPs on this issue of sex and gender, for example. I've worked with SNP MPs who disagreed with their government in Scotland. So I'm open to working with everybody. What I'm not open to is having people who are not Conservatives try and join the Conservative Party so they can destroy it.
Okay.
Kemi Badenoch, well put. Thank you very much indeed. Have a good day, and thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you.